Before leaving, please remember to make a contribution to all of my thousands of hours of work here, PayPal, Patreon, or fundraiser in the description below or on the China Rising Radio Sinoland article page. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Today's program is what is the Chinese people's secret ingredient to their never-ending success? It's staring you in the face, but I bet you can't see it. Pictured above, Euranglolanders tried every which way to destroy the success of Beijing's 2008 Olympics and failed. The West was even more desperate to ruin this year's version and again embarrassed itself. The second Beijing Olympics 2022, the first being in 2008, again proved that the rest of the world struggles to match the Chinese nation and its 1.4 billion citizens. I'm not just talking about high tech, which I tried to keep up with for 1.5 years by doing short video reports called China Tech News Flash. And there's the hyperlink, lots of hyperlinks in this article, so go into the description at the bottom of the description if you are listening or watching audiovisual. China Tech News Flash was a blast and a half, pardon the pun, since I was able to use innovation and invention to show friends, fans, and followers of China Rising Radio Sinoland, CRRS, how China functions economically, governmentally, scientifically, and militarily. After more than 100 videos, I realized it would be a full-time job just to keep up with China's tech progress. So I am maintaining a hyperlink library that you can check on a regular basis for the latest news entitled, "I Can't Keep Up! Baba Beijing and the Chinese nation are so unstoppably prolific with high-tech, innovation, invention, infrastructure, space, and military that I've created a hyperlink library growing every day, which you can access 24/7. Enjoy and learn." I note the most recent date when I add news so you can keep track. Even maintaining this library takes time to glean the internet to find relevant news and then post. As well, outside high tech, it is dizzying and impossible to keep up with all of the amazing, faster than a speeding bullet progress China has been making since communist liberation in 1949, accelerating as I write, be it Sino-society, culture, government, administration, commerce, and services. Quality of life factors are rapidly challenging in more and more Chinese communities and in many cases outstripping Eurangloland, NATO, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Israel. My wife and I recently lived and worked in Beijing for 13 years and 3 in Shenzhen, 1 year in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and now 1.5 in France. To be honest, comparing Paris to our 2 Chinese cities is not that hard, and I'm sorry we ever left both countries. Infrastructure in France is barely hanging on and in slow decline. A case in point is high-speed internet, which is very good in Thailand, outstanding and nearly ubiquitous in China, and in both places reasonably priced. Here in China, we finally just got optical fiber to replace our antediluvian ADSL phone connection. Imagine that. Not until 2021. The worst part about it, it is total shit, high priced compared to our previous Asian services. Here's a shocking statistic. China has built not 8,000, not 80,000, but over 800,000 bridges by 2016. Most of these have been constructed since 1949. Incredibly, China has 10,000 kilometers of high-speed train bridges to link a total of 38,000 kilometers of 300 to 350 kilometer per hour rail lines by 2025. Back in France, a country that used to be the pride of Europe for its roads and bridges, is not even maintaining what they already have. In 2016, it was reported that 30% of the country's bridges were structurally deficient, with a total of 25,000 in 2019 needing overhaul to bring them to safe standards. This with 800 or 7% ready to collapse. Be careful where you cross. Need I mention the USA, which is now a certifiable infrastructure banana republic country? It is not just bridges. Driving around France tells you all you need to know that its once pristine highways, roads, and streets are slowly degrading. While not yet at the USA's second world level, it is only a matter of time. By then, the American dream will be a third world nightmare, and already is for many of its citizens. In France, all the excellent, once state-owned toll roads have been privatized to profit well-connected billionaires and their corporations at the expense of the citizens. The nearby Normandy Bridge costs €9 to cross, yet it is not that long. We never paid to cross a bridge in mainland China, hundreds of which dwarf France's bridges in scale and technology. Not only that, Baba Beijing, my wry name for the government, waives all the toll fees during Chinese New Year, National Week, and other important holidays as a gift to the people. How can they do that? Because all public infrastructure is, well, publicly owned by the masses to serve them. The point being that a country's economy lives and dies with its infrastructure, and the people's well-being, culture, society, commerce, and services do just as well. Nor will France or any other country in the European Union improve their infrastructure. Why? Because the European Treaty, abbreviated ET, is a neoliberal, privatize everything, atomic bomb to destroy this great continent's many fabulously successful, for the 99%, post-war socialist structures. Mind you, after realizing they were lied to about the awful anti-people European Maastricht Treaty, the French people defied jackboot brown shirt big lie propaganda machine BLPM brainwash and voted twice against the even more hardcore neoliberal ET. It goes without saying that French democracy, quote, end of quote, completely ignored the citizens. Euranglo-land's 1% controlled simulacrum of freedom and democracy always serves its aristocratic elite owners' interests first. Thus, in the middle of the night, France's legislature passed the ET anyway, undoubtedly bribed, blackmailed, and extorted by their same said owners. Now, everything in Europe must be privatized, and the ET clearly states that there can be no government intervention and, quote, the markets. This is a bad joke since governments everywhere are involved in policy and laws affecting commerce. What neoliberals want is lots of government interference that enriches the trillionaire global capitalist dictatorship while impoverishing the 99%. That is all. I just talked to a friend in Cherbourg, where nearby is one of France's biggest nuclear energy plants. After World War II, this country developed the world's best, most successful atomic energy grid, state-owned and managed by one of the world's most well-run utilities, Électricité de France, which means abbreviated EDF. Thanks to the ET, France now has, the European Treaty, France now has 1/4 of its 75 nuclear power plants out of commission since neoliberal austerity measures raised taxes on the 99% to pay interest on the private banksters' ginned up ever-growing national debt are forcing society and economy-destroying cuts across the board. State-owned EDF has to sell 49% of its power grid to these same said trillionaire dictators who will force more cuts to infrastructure and services so as to pocket double-digit returns. Who suffers the skyrocketing energy bills and rolling blackouts since EDF now has to make up for the deficit by buying energy on high-priced spot markets? We, the people. State-owned EDF was also the global leader in the most advanced, new generation, super efficient, low waste, and never need to rebuild nuclear energy technology. Thanks to global capitalist austerity budget cuts, it was all tabled for 50 years. Who ran with it and is now the global leader in all this fabulous high tech? Why, none other than Baba Beijing, cranking out these space-age plants to assure the Chinese people of abundant electricity into the 22nd century. Isn't capitalism just the bee's knees? Not only that, but the European Treaty is forcing EDF to sell off all its hydroelectric, wind, and solar power grids to rape and plunder investors who will undoubtedly liquidate the assets and junk what is left for maximum short-term profits. Not to mention also concocting behind closed doors well-planned short sales of their newly minted common stock to the gullible public to rake in even more billions at the expense of the citizens. This while making sure their internal preferred shares only keep going up and up. Isn't capitalism just the cat's pajamas? Thanks to the European Treaty, EDF has to sell its own electricity at a discount to wealthy, well-connected investors who can then resell it at a profit. The result? Robber baron, quote, free market companies like Hydroption garnered 200 clients, including the city of Paris, the French army, government entities, many companies and local collectives by undercutting EDF. Like all good capitalists, instead of serving its customers for their long-term benefit, the founder-owner of Hydroption, Michel de Caravere, bet all his EDF bought electricity to go short, whereas it massively increased in price. Overnight, Hydroption declared bankruptcy and France's army, the city of Paris, and all the other hundreds of customers were suddenly scrambling to keep the heating and light turned on. I'm too excited. By buying megawatts on the spot market at even higher costs. Michael de Caravere surely wrote himself a cushy golden parachute compensation exit package, will walk away free, rich, and unpunished. Well-connected and with pockets full of fuck you money, he will be back to plunder French citizens again and again. This, my friend, is the logic and genius of capitalism. And this is why the Chinese nation is so incredibly successful, because it is 180 degrees opposed to neoliberal global capitalism. Scratch a Chinese citizen and they will tell you they agree with Mao Zedong's geopolitical vision. Global capitalism and Western imperialism are evil and to be defended against. Even Chinese who don't like Mao admit this. They know that communism and socialism, and this is very important, when not destroyed by outside, and that being Western forces, works best for the 99%. We can only imagine where communist, socialist, anti-imperialist, I abbreviate that CSAI, Cuba, North Korea, Iran, Syria, Libya, Venezuela, Vietnam, Thailand, Bolivia, Ecuador, I put Bolivia twice. Sorry about that. I missed that one. Nicaragua, Eritrea, USSR/Russia, and so many others would be today if they were not constantly being attacked 24/7 by Western war, invasion, sabotage, BLPM psychological operations, that's fake news, false flags, that's black ops, assassinations, extermination, genocide, bio and chemical warfare, economic, commercial, financial boycotts, blockades, sanctions, piracy, asset theft, totaling tens of trillions of dollars in losses since 1917. And for those of you who may not know, that was the Russian Revolution, all of which I wrote about in fascinating detail and with years of boots on the ground experience about all this in the China Trilogy. There's a map above. These are most of the current CSAI countries that are being attacked 24/7 by the West. I did not include past ones that were crushed into vassals. Otherwise, there would be many more. This is why your Anglo-lands trillionaire global capitalist dictators are in white-knuckle fear and hatred of the Chinese people. They have been successfully communist socialists for the last 5,000 years of continuous civilization, and since 1949, they put a name and a plan to it by practicing Marxism, Leninism, adopting Stalin's successful development strategies, then adding Mao Zedong's visionary aspirations of serve the people. Continue with Deng Xiaoping's, Jiang Zemin's, Hu Jintao's, and Xi Jinping's inputs, thereby further racing past the West since then and leapfrogging them with their Sino-society, culture, government, administration, commerce, services, and quality of life factors. Capitalists abhor competition, so Mao's vision must be destroyed. Otherwise, you might start asking good questions about your conditions in life. The China Trilogy is the ultimate low-cost honorary degree in Chinese studies. Nevertheless, I've also written, podcasted, and interviewed about it until I'm blue and red in the face here on China Rising Radio Sinoland. Simply search keywords that interest you. There are hundreds of related posts. Here are a few search words to begin with: democracy, Mao, media, accountability, social credit system, SOEs, state-owned enterprises, socialism, communism, capitalism, freedom, Xi, as in Xi Jinping, Cultural Revolution, Great Leap Forward, Tiananmen Square, to name just a few. I will close out with a telling anecdotal story, since the vast majority of the world's non-CSAI peoples are brainwashed to the bone by the West BLPM that the Chinese people live under a totalitarian regime. A while back, my daughter and I were having a pre-plandemic coffee on the sidewalks of Boulevard Champs-Élysées in Paris. Can't get any better than that in the City of Lights. She had come home for summer vacation from her studies at Beijing Normal University. Mind you, she had spent her first 5 years in France and then 10 more in the USA. So she knows Western society very well, on top of living, studying, and working in China for another 9. As we were sitting there with a beautiful warm sun hanging over us, the sidewalks full in this opulent Western success story of a place for all things economic and socio-cultural, she suddenly said, and I'm paraphrasing, "Dad, I know this sounds really strange, but coming back to France makes me realize that I have much more freedom in China than here in the US. Hey, I couldn't agree with her more. Having been just as brainwashed for most of my life, I am sure your cognitive dissonance is off the charts. Thus, I can fully empathize. Been there and moved on. Maybe do some reading while letting our years of life experiences and empirical observations sink in for a while. Postscript, notice these are Western, not Chinese stats. First graph, your BLPM has brainwashed you that China is totalitarian. Its people beg to differ. Next graph, freedom of the press? You think you have it, but don't. The Chinese nation wants theirs owned and managed by Baba Beijing to protect themselves from your Orwellian BLPM. Next graph, the BLPM has brainwashed you that Baba Beijing is a soulless vampire, keeping its people in chains. The Chinese nation knows better. This is Jeff J. Brown signing out. Have a great day.
China Rising Radio Sinoland and China Tech News Flash signing out. Please make a contribution to all of my hard work. Thank you.